Okay, welcome everyone. We had to get our technology figured out there, but we're ready to go. So welcome to our Monday 5:30 board meeting. We will start with the Pledge of Allegiance led by Doug Quinn.
Mute myself. Please join me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Doug. Next is the land acknowledgement, which I will do tonight. I acknowledge that the geographical region of Camas is located on the ancestral and territorial lands of the Chinook and Cowlitz people, and that the Chinook are still fighting to be federally recognized tribe on their own land. Next, we will move on to the Milltown Pride Awards.
Thanks, Tracy. We have one very special Milltown Pride Award, and then like we've done recently, acknowledging a group of staff members tonight. And so Gail, could you click to the next slide, please? So I want to read the nomination that came in for Bonnie Noble. I think that it just really captures who she is, and she's a really humble person and would not want to be recognized at all. I know she's going to be on the call tonight, but I'm not going to call you out, Bonnie, and make you talk or anything like that. It says her official title is custodian, but she is so much more to our staff and students. We can all agree that she is a huge reason why our staff and students have remained safe and healthy through this COVID challenge. She is meticulous with sanitation, and she is so very dedicated and committed to her job. But what makes her so deserving of this acknowledgement is that our students love her. She is our musical DJ at lunch, frequently taking requests from the kiddos. She can often be found playing ping pong with a student or just listening with genuine care. She is often the staff member the kids visit with because she has a genuine interest in who they are as people. She celebrates their uniqueness and supports their individuality. She is a Camas grad and such an asset to our community. And when you get that kind of a nomination, you know that that's a Milltown Pride Award right there. So Bonnie, thank you so much for what you do every day. And I know you do it just because that's who you are and you love the students and staff and you love to serve there. But sometimes it's important to just call it out that we see you, we recognize how amazing you are, and we are grateful for you. So thank you, Bonnie. And if you could go to the next slide, Gail, we also just wanted to call out our custodial team. As you guys know, all of our staff have been pressed with different kinds of procedures and challenges throughout the year. And this team has really been on the front lines from back in the summer when we started serving students in person, really trying to learn new processes and procedures and just kind of rolling with it and just doing a phenomenal job. So we are recognizing these individuals that are pictured, and then there's a number of custodians that we did not have images of, but we're going to deliver Milltown Pride Awards to them as well and just let them know how much we appreciate them. They're a great group, and we would not be able to serve students the way we are without them. So those are our Milltown Pride Awards for tonight.
Thank you, Jeff, and congratulations, Bonnie, and the entire CSD custodial team. We appreciate all that you guys are doing for us. Next, we'll move on to item 3, open and effective communications, our state audit report. And I believe Jason is going to present that for us.
Is my audio okay? Can you hear me okay? Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Okay. Good evening. Just real quick, wanted to brief the board. Our annual state audit concluded recently, and we came out of it with flying colors. They audit our financial statements for accuracy as well as proper internal controls. All of that looked good. They also look at our federal grant compliance. So that went very well as well. So we appreciate the work that all of our staff do to, with our federal grant programs. So, and then they touched on several other areas throughout the district. And it was a challenge, certainly with being a COVID year and them auditing last year and coordinating this effort. So really appreciate the work done at CHS and the ASB office. They did a really nice job of being responsive to the auditors, and they did a great job there just managing during the course of last year, as well as payroll. All of our payroll and human resource folks really had to dedicate a fair amount of time this year to this audit. It was pretty expansive look, and they did a great job as well. No issues or recommendations there either. So it's really district-wide. It's a testament to the work that they do throughout the year. And we're just very fortunate to have the staff that we do that are taking care of business throughout the year. And it's nice to get an affirmation of their work. So I just wanted to share that good news with the board.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, thank you, Jason. Sorry for our audio trouble, but did you guys have any questions for Jason?
I just wanted to make one comment. One of the primary, I don't know if I would look like I'm not muted. One of the primary and fundamental elements we do as a board is to ensure the proper use of finances in our district. And guys like Jason and his team have done an amazing job of complying with this. I love a no comment audit. This is really impressive, and quite honestly, it reflects incredibly well on the professionalism and the diligence of what you're doing. I know a lot of times that's not real popular among staff. I'm a staff myself in another life, and sometimes it's like, no, I don't have that receipt. But pushing to get those things together result in the sorts of audits that you guys are showing today. So congratulations, Jason and team. I know that you do this with a group of highly qualified professionals. So pass on my regards as a board member as to the good work you're doing. And on behalf of the board, thank you.
Thanks, Doug. Thank you, Doug. And I sat in on the entrance and the exit. That was the first time I had done that. I sat in on both of them. So it was interesting to see, and they did a great job. So I was glad to do that. Okay, so next we'll move on to excellence in academic, social, and lifelong learning. And with the WSU at Odyssey, I believe this is Mr. Rob Matson.
Well, hello. Thank you for having us all here today. I was just going to ask Gail if you see Richard Sawyer out there and you could promote him as a panelist, it'd be great to have him in. He might be late. Rick and I have been working together, for the last 3 years now, actually, on the Jeff Snells, who brought us together, and he knew Rick from his time at WSU. And wanted to try to build a collaboration, build some opportunities for students both at WSU to be able to experience what we're doing on our project-based campus here, and also for our students to have a connection to their community. Because, at Odyssey, at Discovery, our motto is that we learn for life. So this is our 3rd year working together on that collaboration. I think every year has been a surprise. The first year, it was just Rick and I, and Discovery's first year trying to figure things out. Last year, we had 8 graduate students who were gung-ho ready to build a school garden, and then COVID hit. And so we transitioned to online learning. And this year we have 21 graduate students who've been working with my 6th grade class at Odyssey, getting to experience just what it's like to be doing hybrid learning. Actually, they've been doing fully remote learning, and learning how to plan online lessons, how to plan using technology, and to develop some really amazing projects. So today, we're going to show you on our next slide a video that they put together. It's about 10 minutes long. They're going to highlight the 3 projects that they are working on with our Odyssey students. And then afterwards, we have 3 of them on a panel just for any Q&A type questions that the board might have about their experience. And so if you could just hit the play button there, I'm going to stop talking.
project that we created in tandem with the Odyssey sixth graders had to do with food insecurity. Our essential question was, how do we as sixth graders help to solve the problem of food insecurity in Clark County? They decided to do this with a food drive. For our project launch, we utilized jam boards to find out what our students knew about food insecurity and what they wanted to learn about food insecurity. We're calling this our KW later because we never actually got to the learning step, just the know and want to know. For our first milestone, we had our students create a digital artifact in the form of a poster, a video, or an infographic that advertised our food drive. The students really let their creativity fly here, and they did a really great job. We were all very impressed with the results. For our second project milestone, we had our students create a Hello. I also explained things like how COVID has affected food insecurity and the history of food banks. For our third project milestone, we will be exploring how scientists have been trying to combat food insecurity by designing different types of foods. We will also be designing our own foods of the future and creating recipes that incorporate this new food of the future. For our fourth and final milestone, we will have our students use a catalog that we prepare for them to go shopping for their family for a week of food, to show them how much money it costs to feed their family in a week, and therefore how much a family can save by using a food bank. Some evidence for the Odyssey middle schoolers learning are things like conversations that we've had over the course of the semester, as well as our website, which we did a scavenger hunt to grab information to add to the website. Other things would be those digital artifacts that they created. We also did an activity where the students were able to give warm and cool feedback to each other and then incorporate that feedback in a final draft for these digital artifacts. We utilized Jamboard once again to do this. The things that we as WSU Master's students have learned while doing this project are ways to utilize technology in the classroom, how to incorporate PBL into teaching and learning, classroom management, as well as collaboration. We know that we have learned these things because we have successfully designed and executed a 4-week PBL lesson plan. We have increased our literacy with digital tools such as WeVideo and Jamboards. We've gained experience working with students via remote access, and we have successfully worked on a team with 6 other educators to complete this 4-week lesson cycle.
Welcome to Designing the Future, a project-based lesson plan designed by graduate students Terrell Haywood, Stacy Roy, Molly Warden, Katie Peary, Alicia Hillman, Valerie Stancliffe, and me, Abigail Hughes. The launch. Our group decided to teach the issue of equity in education to our 6th grade students through project-based learning. Students designed their own schools that acknowledged and dismantled issues of equity in education, broken apart into 4 milestones: equity, technology, nutrition, and community. Milestone 1, equity. We felt it was important to teach students about the concept of equity before diving into specific educational challenges. We asked students to brainstorm what the term fairness meant and how they addressed unfair systemic issues. Students made a short video that demonstrated that equity means assuring citizens receive what they need in order to be successful. Milestone 2, Technology. Students began to create the solution portion of their final project. They learned about the digital divide in education and decided how to bridge the gap through existing solutions. They utilized research techniques and developed a working knowledge of the importance of supporting claims through statistics. Milestone 3. Nutrition. Students began learning how to identify problems addressing the inadequate nutrition in schools. They learned about the benefits of healthy nutrition in education and used research skills to find solutions to the problem. Students will add their creative solutions to their final project. Milestone 4. Community. Students discuss the meaning of community in school. They will learn about inclusion, discuss community resources in the area, and research a meaningful quote to describe what community means to them. These activities will lead up to a clip to include in their final project. Here are some incredible student examples from the Equity and Technology milestones.
Hello, I'm Clark, and equity to me is equality for everyone, even if that means one person needs more than the other.
Equal means what you want and what's fair, while equity means what you need for it to be fair.
I think equity means fairness.
Well, I have a sister and she has Williams syndrome, and at school she can't play like the other kids or work like them, but the district makes sure she has the same access to resources regardless of her abilities and health.
My version of equity is that everyone has the same advantage, meaning everyone has the same start. Not everyone gets the same thing.
One person's having a hard time in school or just needs a tutor, everybody gets tutored.
The problem with technology is that not enough students have enough money to get the Chromebooks that they need to do schoolwork. We can start a bake sale and raise money for the students who can't afford to have.
Graduate students in Washington State University's College of Education are learning how to construct lesson plans for project-based learning through collaboration with colleagues in different content areas. We are learning how to use digital technology to create interactive and engaging lessons and assignments for students with a focus on social justice. Graduate students are learning how to create these lessons in order to have an understanding of how project-based learning modules are created in a collaborative environment. Through lesson construction, artifact collection, and the harvesting of project-based learning ideas, graduate students will feel confident in taking the next step of their teaching careers with the first-hand knowledge they have gained at Odyssey Middle School.
The goal of our project is to have students explore how technology has influenced us during COVID. The end goal we had for this project was a 4-page ebook to represent each of the module essential questions. We launched our project with an essential question, to which the students provided feedback, changing the essential question and what the focus of our project was. We then did relationship building with the students using technology to do an online activity together. We went over each essential question and then collaborated together to come up with survey questions that would be analyzed for Module 2. Module 1 required the students to think about their own definitions of technology. After learning of various categories and broadening the scope of technology, students were asked to reframe their definitions as a group. To begin the ebook, students included their own definitions and on a separate page, a group definition. Students were then asked to complete a survey about their usage of technology. Module 2 focused on analyzing the data from the technology survey. We had the students discuss the data and then learn about how we can use mean, mode, and outliers in evaluating the data. For the second slide of the ebook, students were asked to discuss one survey question using mathematical language. Module 3 asks how people used technology during pandemics in the past. Through that question, we will look at how technology and equity affected the treatment of the Spanish flu. The students will each create their own tangible artifact connecting a technology or resource that was used in the past that can be used today. Module 4 asks how we can use technology to promote equity within our communities in 2021. Students will brainstorm how to improve tech equity. Students will approach the question for this module based on group brainstorming. Students will revise slides 1 through 3 based on peer and mentor feedback. Mentors will then combine the student slides into an ebook. The next two slides discuss evidence of learning throughout our project. Module 1 incorporated themes from English language arts and science. Students discussed first what their ideas of technology were, then created slides based on these ideas. They learned about how our current pandemic has been affected by technology. Module 2 included math lessons. Students analyzed data collected by students about technology usage in education and entertainment. They were able to make general deductions about the access their peers have to certain technologies that may make them more or less successful in school. In Module 3, they will be creating a physical artifact to show how they learned the concepts. In Module 4, they will be reflecting on what they have learned and considering how to improve tech equity. As future educators, we want to go into our teaching with as many skills and practices as possible. It is important to us to learn how PBL works in the classroom, as well as to work with other subject areas to make learning impactful on the students. We will be able to tell if our students are learning the material that we're teaching through the use of summative and formative assessment. We are constantly doing formative assessments after each module, and at the end, we will use summative assessment to compare their final ebooks with a rubric we have generated.
All right, if we go to the next slide. So I just want to, one more tap. So we really wanted to open it up to questions with you. You know, this has been a 3-year collaboration now. And what I failed to mention is everything you saw here was produced by students at WSU who were in their very first semester of teaching, of graduate school. This was an immediate jumpstart that Canvas has helped provide for them into the classroom or into the online world that we are right now. And just as you can see through the quality of those 3 videos, they've put a lot of work and effort into bringing some phenomenal experiences. We're talking about 21 graduate students who've been given the opportunity to have access to many of the resources here in Camas through our tech department and to work with 27 of our kids. So even before they began planning these projects, they were working one-to-one as mentors and just connecting with our students in a really cool and unique way. So I wanted to pause there because I see Rick Sawyer has joined us. He is my WSU colleague who has helped develop what we're doing. And I just wanted to see if Rick had anything he wanted to share or if the board had any questions. We have 3 students here who I know have things they'd like to share with you.
Thank you, Rob. I think I just wanted to really thank Camas School District for this incredible opportunity for us to do teacher preparation in this real world way. This is so unusual. Usually we have the theory which takes place in the classrooms and students aren't even in a regular classroom until much later in the program. And then they have practice as part of their actual experience. But theory and practice don't usually come together. So you could see from the videos that our students produced that this is an incredibly powerful learning situation for them. And it's really, Jeff Snell has made this possible. Rob Matson is the most valuable player here, but also our students who are really doing this. And of course, the students that they're encountering at Camas. So this is a completely new way of doing teacher preparation, which we think is really powerful. And I think you could see that from their videos. So thanks.
So I have just 3 teachers or teacher candidates I want to introduce you to. I'm going to start with Stacy Roy.
Hello, I'm Stacy and I am in group B and I want to be an ELA teacher, hopefully for middle school.
Not a math teacher like I tried to call her out earlier. And Tom Ramirez, a former Camas Hayes Freedom, correct, Tom? Or did you say Camas High School?
Camas High School. So I am Tom Ramirez. I worked with Group A or Group 1, I believe. I think we're going numbers instead of letters. And we are tackling food insecurity with our group. And it's been a fun and challenging experience working with 6th graders so quickly out of the gate in our graduate program. So I want to thank you guys for that opportunity.
All right. And then the 3rd teacher candidate we have here is Paul.
I am Paul Marsalik, and I'm going to be a high school history teacher with any sort of luck. And I really enjoyed working with your kids. Thanks for the chance.
And so with that, we just, if
Thank
you
you,
all,
guys. That was very impressive. And I love the partnership that we have with WSU. So that was wonderful. So I'm glad that worked out. And I don't know if the board has any questions or comments that they want to give.
I was just curious. I mean, especially for most of you are on the younger side, so you probably didn't go through a PBL program wherever you went through middle and high school. So it's something that's fairly new and something that we're really we're really investing in here at Camas. So I'm just curious what kind of your thoughts are on PBL. Is this something that you see that you wish you would have had when you were going through school? Is it something that you could see going into in your future teaching career, being part of a PBL program?
I can take that. I love it. I definitely am very jealous of the students at your school, and I wish I had had that opportunity. I graduated from high school in 2001 and didn't have anything like this. And as a teacher, what I've been learning at WSU, even my methods courses in undergrad too, was to create more of a hands-on experience for the students and give them real world reasons for what they're doing. So I'm really excited about this. I think it's awesome.
Yeah, I just want to second what Stacy said. I went to Camas and I'm very grateful for the education I got there. But when I was there, I graduated in 06 and we didn't have a whole lot of project-based learning where that was the entire curriculum. There were certain classes where maybe you worked on a more project-based learning unit. But as far as an entire curriculum goes, there was nothing like that set up at the time. And I think it's something that I would be interested in doing more of. Because it seems like it's a more engaging way to work with students, and it's something I really enjoyed.
I would be curious, having worked through 3 years of this with our students, kind of what was a memorable or a moment or an epiphany that you had as you were working through this window of time on this project? I'm just curious, what stands out to you? Did anyone?
Something that stood out for me was honestly how much technology these sixth graders understood. I was blown away immediately with how literate they were in the programs they're using and how they were easily able to work through, Google Classroom and things like this that I honestly wasn't exposed to yet. And so that's kind of one thing that stood out to me, is just how capable these students are in this program and how much they are comfortable using technology. That's definitely one thing that kind of surprised me from the get-go.
So one of the things that really surprised me, or my aha moment, was seeing the engagement that kids had as soon as they had a chance to really make decisions about what they were learning. PBL is designed to be democratic and give the kids input. And once they get some input, the buy-in really went up. I mean, kids who hadn't had a word to say since we met them were suddenly very involved and very engaged and became very interested.
To add on to what Paul said, that's something we noticed in one of our modules. Oh, you can't hear me? Can you hear me? Yeah, okay. That's something we noticed in one of our modules. As soon as we started asking the students their opinions on things, all of a sudden they were turning their cameras on and talking. And it was just nice to get that engagement with the students and get to know their personalities and see that they have a lot to say and a lot to offer.
I had a quick question. So you guys were working in teams coming up with these lessons, which is awesome. But when you're out there as a teacher yourself, and I don't know, Rob, if your teachers come up with lessons in teams or eventually you're doing it yourself. And I'm just wondering about sort of the workload. I mean, from student engagement wise, it seems like there's nothing better. And how does the process of delivering lessons this way differ from the traditional Does that make sense?
So I can speak to it real quick and then I'll pass it on because you mentioned, our teachers here at Odyssey and Discovery, our buildings were built around that, and each of our, learning areas have a common mission control where the teachers are working together. Is it always perfect? No. But it does. We've been really fortunate to have just a little more plan time than probably typical high school teachers would have in the district. And just that blessing of just the way Discovery has been built, where we have those mission controls where we're face to face with each other, allows that collaboration to happen and those conversations to happen. And then that's also where we focus a lot of our early releases as well. So it's on collaboration and working together to build our curriculum.
I guess so. I'm sorry. So I'm wondering if for the rest of the students not lucky enough to be at Discovery and Odyssey, how do you see the ability of teachers to be able to roll more project-based learning into a traditional system?
I'm going to take a stab at that, but I'm going to first preface it with I'm new, so I haven't been in a school yet, but I would, what I'm hoping to do going into my first job is to find a way to collaborate more with the different content areas and try and create a project where in my ELA classroom, science can be incorporated in history and math, and just hope that, that I can get people to cooperate with me. And my grandfather was a vocational director back in the 1970s, and he was all about that, getting everything to be about the real world and bringing all of the different subjects together. So I have him to ask questions to too.
And just to throw out a plug for our other middle schools, I've taught at Liberty, I've taught at Skyridge, and I will tell you that I've always had a supportive team of teachers at every school and every grade I've worked at, where we've really been able to work together on projects like this. So I think Camas does it really well in a lot of places.
Okay, I think that's all the questions from the board. Thank you guys again so much for being here. I love this, that you guys were able to get into to Odyssey and work with our students, and hopefully you guys will all come back and be teachers here in Camas too. So
I want to speak to that real quick because you may not know.
Just a second, we'll
Sorry.
unmute you.
Sorry. One last thing. Can you hear me now? Yeah, okay. I do want to speak to that because 2 students from this program now teach at Odyssey as science teachers that have been hired here. So this is something that does come back with a lot of excitement, even for student teaching. So we're really proud of that accomplishment as well.
I love that. Thank you. Thank you for that update. And thank you guys very much for being here today. Okay, so next we will move on to item 5, board communication. Okay, it sounds like everybody was on spring break. So nobody has a board update. I will give a quick update on the superintendent search, which I let the board know earlier today, is that I spoke with Steve Lauder, who is our recruitment that we're talking to at McPherson Jacobson. And he wants to come in and talk to the board probably at our next board meeting or the one in May, to just kind of give us an overview of what the process will be like so that we feel comfortable moving forward. So I'll probably invite him to come to one of the next meetings to give that update to the board. So just so you guys are aware of that. Okay, if nobody wants to go back, then we will move on to item 6, public comments. And I know we did not have any written public comments in today, but we can have public comment from anyone who's in the room. And it looks like nobody in the room wants to give public comment today. So maybe next time. Okay. Thank you for being here though. We love having people in person. Okay, have you guys all seen the items added to the agenda? Yes. Yes. Thank you, Doug. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
So that was Doug and Erica, and I will do a roll call vote for the record. Connie?
Aye. Wait, I'm not unmuted, hang on. Let's just say, I say aye.
Doug?
Aye.
Erica?
Aye.
Corey?
Aye.
And I also vote aye. Thank you for hanging with us, everyone, through our difficulties tonight. It's
And
after spring break. So
just wanted to highlight that with the approval of the consent agenda, you approved the hiring of Dr. Daniel Hull for the Camas Connect Academy. We talked to you guys back in January, February about the need to invest in this because this remote learning option wasn't going to go away in the near future, and we really needed some help with the leadership. Dr. Hold has been a longtime Camas resident, graduate of Camas High. He was actually part of our Citizens Advisory Committee this year, and he couldn't be here, and he wanted to also acknowledge this opportunity. So he recorded a short video, so we'll go ahead and play that. We can maybe just turn it on from one audio here. No. Okay. Well, we're not getting the audio here, but Dr. Hold, welcome. We're glad you're part, and we're going to watch the video separately because I know you put some time into it, and I think that people at home can hear it. So I think Gail, maybe she stopped it now. But welcome to the district, Dr. Hold, and we're super excited for you to help us with Camas Connect Academy.
yes, thank you, Dr. Hold. Welcome to Camas. And also, we will all watch your video. We love seeing the pictures of you, and it looked like your family. So we're all going to watch that video afterwards. So congratulations and welcome. Okay, our next item we will move on to is item 9, the reopening plan, and I'll hand it over to Dr. Snow.
Thanks, Tracy. We had a special meeting on April 1st, the Thursday before spring break, to look at Department of Health updates and to discuss with you guys the change in the 3 and 6 foot distancing requirements. And so we reviewed all that prior to spring break. Just felt like it was important to give you guys that information and our staff and our community kind of an update. So today, a lot of the content is similar, so I'm going to go through rather quickly and then answer any questions that I can for you. Gail, if you can go through. So these are slides that we've had about decision-making processes. Go ahead, Gail. Our guiding principles, keep going, and these are all references for people as we move. If you can keep going through the slides, Gail. So stopping on this one, in the meeting with Clark County Public Health today, I did not get the exact rate for tomorrow. Sometimes they have it in our meeting and other times they don't. They anticipate it's going to be in the 130s. And so you can see that this trend of increased rates has continued. So that's something that we're definitely monitoring. Go ahead, Gail. Keep going. Keep going. One of the things that is really important, and Dr. Melnick has stressed over and over again, is how important it is to get vaccinated. And so right now, of the 419 staff members that responded to this question prior to spring break, we talked about 81% are in the either have their first shot or second shot. And that's great, except we have about 1,000 staff members and only half of them responded to the survey. And it seems probably pretty likely that those that responded are going to be ones that are getting their vaccinations. So we really need to, as a community, think about the role of vaccination in our countermeasures. And if people want to get back to more of whatever normal looks like these days, we need more and more people vaccinated. And as those more people are qualifying, we really want to encourage people to participate in that. And Dr. Melnick cannot stress it enough. It's the thing he talks about most in our sessions now. And I know Shelley and Tanya and I have been in meetings with Dr. Melnick as well. And he stresses it in that session as well, just trying to encourage our staff in our community get vaccinated. And you can keep going through several of these. Gail, I'll tell you when to stop. Keep going. So on the elementary front, Doug talked about the change from 6 foot to 3 foot really didn't impact our elementary greatly because of our capacity at the elementary level. And so there are some situations where we were going to have a student maybe go to a different school because we didn't have the space at that grade level for them if they're a new student or they're wanting to come in from remote. And so the 6 foot to 3 foot does give us a little greater capacity. And it also gives teachers some flexibility about their teaching stations and maybe thinking a little more creatively about that. But at the same time, we don't want to bring everybody back to 3 feet because our contact tracing is 6 feet or less. And so for the most part, it's not really impacting our elementary processes, just maybe some tweaks here and there. But our elementary staff have done a phenomenal job and have been running 4 days a week for several weeks now. And so this was news, but it wasn't earth shattering like maybe at the secondary level. So if you can go to the secondary slide and keep going right here. So at the last meeting, if you recall, we looked at the language from the governor and the Department of Health, and they gave us 3 different dashboards that we could use to help us make decisions around when to transition. And we talked about the different dashboards, and we settled on using Clark County Public Health data. That's the data that we've been using all along. We have a direct link to Dr. Melnick and Dr. Krager, so we can get clarifying information if we need it. Whereas when we're talking about the state dashboard, it's a little more difficult to have that intimate kind of conversation. And so if you go to the next slide, you can see that for this week, the data that's currently on the page, we're at a rate of 110 and test positivity of 3.67%. The test positivity is a real delayed indicator when you look at it. It's still March in there. And so it's difficult to really draw a whole lot of conclusion other than we're below the limit, which is good. The 2 factors that we're supposed to monitor for secondary is the case rate below 200 and test positivity below 10%. So we're clearly below that. If it plays out tomorrow that it's 130s, we still are clearly below the 200 threshold. And so based on our conversation on April 1st, we would proceed with moving to 4 days a week for our secondary students. If you can go to the next slide. We also had a discussion though on April 1st, like what happens. We would love for this just to be the last transition, right? And we just go about the business of school and don't have to worry about the pandemic, but we are not naive anymore. We've been through this for a while. And it's a reality that we could approach 200. And so we talked about how we might handle that. And I asked for direction from you guys about this kind of level. So that when we're approaching 200, that we're thinking about potentially even calling a special meeting to discuss with you guys what's going on in the community, using our consultation with Clark County Public Health that we do every week, but really being specific about what's happening and where are those trends going so that we can get information to you to tell us to either stay the course with our plans or speed up or slow down based on those rates. And like I said, we asked today, well, what do you think the rates are going to look like in 2 or 3 weeks? And he always laughs at those kinds of questions, right? Because that's, he doesn't know, right? And so he hopes that the behavior in our county, that the spring break won't cause more influx. Those are important things that we'll be considering. And so we're scheduled to start 4 days a week next Monday. And so at this point, with those rates being below 200 and the test positivity being below 10%, we're proceeding as planned. But I wanted to give space to the board to ask questions, to talk about that before we just move forward with it. So I'll pause here and see if there are any questions or comments.
Can you go back 1 slide? Okay, 2 slides. Where it says middle and high school students use cohorting and at least 3 feet of distance. So when we go back 4 days a week at 3 foot distance, we're not cohorting, right? So this isn't like a must. Because cohorting is what we're doing with hybrid.
Yeah,
right?
cohorting is what our current model is with hybrid, where we have cohort A and cohort B, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. So what's this saying is their recommendations are if our rates go above 200 or that and that test positivity, if we're looking and it's going back up and we're high in the high COVID activity level, then their recommendation is that we could keep 3 feet, but we would have to be cohorted. And if we can't cohort, then we would go back to a cohort model, which would be hybrid. And so that's that decision point. And then you heard, I mean, you've heard throughout this that people have different opinions about this, right? And I think there's a general tiredness of our staff of transitioning, a tiredness of our students and families to continue to transition. And so that was why in the future slide, we talked about just not knee-jerk moving one way or the other, but really trying to be methodical about, like, if we're going to make a transition and go back to hybrid, why, when, how, you know, and especially as we're trending towards the end of the school year, what do you guys want that to look like as a board? So certainly if we stay in the 100s, it's a conversation that we don't have to have, that we're still well within the guidance. But if we start to get to 200, and as you see, if we keep going up 10, 20 each week, that means 4 or 5 weeks we'd be having this conversation. And I don't want to just like not talk about it now, even though I know people tend to not listen until something is changing. But I just want to be open that this is a conversation that at the board level that we might have to have again, and don't want to. I'm tired of those decisions too, but it's a reality, unfortunately, dealing with the pandemic.
And just to reiterate that we had talked about, if the rates go up, to really drill down and see where those cases are. You know, if it's a senior center in Philida, it's not going to have as big of an impact as if it's in our community, right? And so really knowing where the cases are and understanding that to a deeper level will help us make those decisions.
Absolutely. And just so you guys know, in our meetings, like we share with Dr. Melnick and Dr. Krager our timeline. So every district goes and just says, this is where we're at, this, so they can weigh in and say, you know, hey, you need to pause or you need to think about this. And they're not telling us to pause at this point. In fact, they reiterated again that the work that our staff are doing in the buildings is excellent work, that they're not seeing transmission is happening in schools, but we are seeing more cases. And we're having to contact trace more because it's more prevalent in the community right now. And that gets really challenging for people, and it starts to raise stress and anxiety. And it's also why it's so important that we have staff and people vaccinated to really try to mitigate some of those concerns and stresses.
Jeff, has there been any talk in your meetings about with the increase in cases, are we seeing an increase in cases in younger students or younger people? I know that's kind of in the talk in the news and everything about these new variants affecting, you know, younger students.
Yeah, we've seen those articles too, the case rates of younger people. When we asked that question today, they did not have specific data as to indicate that that's a trend here in Clark County. They said that they would look into that data and keep us posted on it, because it's a question that came up from another superintendent today.
Hey, just one more question. Has there been any talk yet about the news of the cleaning standards and the need to disinfect us frequently? I think something came out right before spring break or right at the beginning of it about that, and I didn't know if that has bubbled up into our process yet.
So what we've tried to do with HVAC and cleaning standards, anytime there's a new update that comes out, then whatever team members that are responsible for that review the new updates and then compare that to the current plan or process. There have been some relaxation around some of the cleaning and disinfectant, but when we're transitioning students and staff in, it's not necessarily the time, even when it's maybe they're saying you don't have to clean as frequently. That doesn't necessarily feel good to a first-time student coming into the building. So we've tried to pace ourselves and look at the guidance, review practices. Certainly when resources are limited in terms of time, and time is always limited during the day, we want our cleaning and disinfection targeting the most probable spreading points, right? So we don't want to spend a lot of time on areas that the research says aren't going to make a difference. And so we certainly have been reviewing those things and trying to stay up with it. So if we were to continue on this track, we would have students in on the 19th, which is next Monday. And then we would be able to bring to you guys on the 26th, our next scheduled board meeting. It'd be 1 or 2 more cycles of updates in terms of Clark County public health data. And if something were to go crazy between now and then we potentially would call back you guys to just get some feedback on the timeline and if we should slow it down or not.
Thank you, Jeff, for that update. But I believe now we're done with the reopening plan. So we're moving on to the superintendent's report. So I'm going to give it back to you again.
It was nice to have a spring break. Since the last time we talked, we've actually had 1.5 school days, basically. So I don't really have anything new to report other than the state legislature is trying to finish up their legislative session. It is scheduled to conclude on April 25th, and indicators are that it should conclude on time. The big thing for us that we highlighted in the last couple of meetings is the state subsidizing the federal relief fund and trying to make districts at least to a standard level. It's really critical for Camas. It was in the Senate budget and not in the House budget. And so I have been pestering our elected officials. I don't get too many replies now because I've sent too many emails, but I know that they know how important it is to us. And I'm just hopeful at this point that it does make it into the final compromise budget. And if it doesn't take that form that we're asking for in terms of raising that standard level, that it's in some other form to compensate a district for our losses. When we look at other districts neighboring us that are getting 10 times the relief funding, it doesn't feel very equitable as we try to dig our way out of this pandemic. So if you're so inclined, please keep the pressure on. I know that Shelley's aware of it too, and our other labor partners of the importance of it. So it's a collective effort to try to help our legislators finish strong this session.
Thank you, Jeff, for that update. If the board doesn't have any questions, then we can move on to item 11, quality facilities and resources. We have a board resolution 2009, the interlock purchasing system membership that we need to approve. If anyone had any questions or want to discuss it further, otherwise I'll take a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve board resolution 20-09.
Thank you. Thank you, Corey, and a second from Doug. Any discussion? I will take a roll call vote. Connie? Doug?
Aye.
Erica?
Aye.
Oh, she goes aye. Corey?
Aye.
Sorry, I was muted on that one. So much technical difficulties tonight. Okay, I'm adjourning our regular meeting. Thank you everyone for joining us today. It's 6:30. Go enjoy the sunshine and we'll see you in 2 weeks. Thank you.